Hail, citizens. Hail, thank you. Before the great Aryan Rising of 2017, this proud nation had already made its decision to embrace conservatism. Now, since those previously hidden forces revealed themselves to the weak and corrupt nations of the world, rising like a mighty eagle out of their Antarctic secret base with vastly superior technology to smite them quaking to their knees, begging for the new order to be formed, a shining new world of purity has fallen within our grasp. Nowhere more does this apply than in the visual arts. Art is the flower which blossoms on the bush of culture, the bright colours and alluring scents reminding us of our humanity and the hopes and dreams we haven't hoped or even dreamt yet. Art is the forge on which the minds of our children can be beaten to shape them into the armies and workers and leaders of the future. But artists do not always cooperate. Some art is dangerous to the single vision of our leader, and in its defiance, degeneracy and moral corruption is an offence to all proper peoples and races. My name is Jeremy Hunt, former Culture Secretary. Too soon? I'm sorry. Under the new regime, currently part of a select committee, evaluating levels of degeneracy in regional culture. Since the failings of my predecessors, it has been established that it is only by celebrating degeneracy that one can possibly hope to expose it. By which I mean give it a platform, ready for eventual realignment. Art itself can be wrong, but talent can be redirected, reprogrammed even, to serve the common purpose. All crime starts as a thought. So thought itself must be reshaped, recalibrated, redirected to serve where before it tried to undermine. Our predecessors in the Third Reich made the mistake of not bothering to try to understand the Antarctic Kunst, degenerate art, that they collected, and so missed the opportunity to absorb that which could have informed them about the darker, more complex aspect of the human being they wished to control. The artists here tonight have come to our attention as persons of interest in this murky realm, and it is your duty as potential citizens of the New World State to decide which artist most deserves our, ultimately, loving support. Like the Good Shepherd, we will bring them back into the fold and award them the shining prize of state approval. And of course, half the box office, which will go some way towards the withdrawal of their benefits. You will not be alone. You will not be alone in the process of choosing, as we are aware many citizens are still unsure of their role and need leading into correct thinking. To help you, we have appointed a panel of judges who have been briefed very thoroughly and made painfully aware of their responsibilities. They will offer their opinions to the work show. You may then question and talk to the artists in order to explore and clarify further where they have gone wrong in their thinking, their lives, and most importantly, their art. Now, here are our judges for this evening. First, I'll introduce Cara Courage. Cara, it says here, is an arts and urban consultant, writer, stroke commentator, curator, and project manager. She has worked in the arts for 15 years and has not, as yet, been shocked by the content of any art, just the quality. Well, Cara, you're halfway there. Remember how important it is to you and your loved ones to complete that circle. Right, Chris T.T. was described by Channel 4's Jon Snow as one of the great underground artists of our time. Oh dear, Chris, it would be awful if that were literally true. An independent writer and music maker, Chris T.T. has been acclaimed for 15 years, something of a commonality there, without ever bothering the charts, nor compromising his radical psychedelic songs. Steve Lamacq from the former Radio 2 described him as a man we can trust with our lives. If he was standing for London Mayor, I'd vote for him. Sadly, Steve Lamacq didn't get the chance after he expired earlier on this year in one of our re-education centres. In 2010, Chris instigated the hashtag #IamSpartacus disobedience Twitter meme, and last summer, his critique of the Olympics closing ceremony brought 65,000 visitors to his website in 3 days. That's shooting fish in a barrel, surely. Anyway, as you can see, Chris is on this panel as a poacher turned gamekeeper, and he will have to do very well to avoid falling into the man trap. Right, Jon Pratty, our third panel member, is a relationship manager, digital and creative economies at Arts Council England. He says he'd like to see more clarity and simplicity in ways of talking and writing about art. Yes, John, strength, simplicity, purity, sacrifice. Good, good. He goes on to say he hopes people will understand that the value of core info stroke content stroke data in the digital landscape. I don't know what that means, John. Bad, bad. He wants better training stroke evangelizing stroke teaching basic digital skills for creative and cultural people. I understand that, but it's not good, John. Oh dear. We're having difficulty censoring the internet at the moment. He says we really need to understand how digital culture allows us to create meanings and connections in new ways. I do understand that, and it sounds dangerous. You're going to have to watch yourself. Right, let us move on. Now, all judgment requires order and discipline. So this is the process we will follow. 1, each artist will show their work and talk about their work. Then we hear comments from the judges. Then it's audience questions in that order. Remember, your questions will be noted. 2, art is all different. It requires individual attention, and its own requirements for time and space must be met by any responsible regime. As a result, each artist will be allowed a uniform maximum of 15 minutes before the gong sounds, and they must stop talking and leave the stage. Failure to conform by anyone will be noted. 3, after all works have been shown, you, the audience, will complete your ballot papers, get a drink, and wait for the votes to be counted. If you wish to buy more votes, that is acceptable. Why should the poor have the same voice as the better off? The system has rewarded them for their efforts, and as such, they can be seen as better, superior people, deserving of a greater say. 4, the winner will be awarded the prize, and the other artists will be free to go, whilst remembering that their activities will be under constant observation for the foreseeable future. The artist in last place will sign a declaration of inaction and disappear beneath the radar. Right, let our process begin. Our first artist tonight is one Johnny Ridley. The title of his artwork is Hell on Earth. The music he's selected is called Monolith, and he's been apparently creating art in different forms since he was a child, whether it be painting, comics, and in the last 2 to 3 years, music. Art and creativity have always seemed to be a natural extension of his personality. The need to create on a daily basis is just there in him and always will be. Don't be so confident. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, the multiple internationally exhibiting Mr. Johnny Ridley. Ladies and gentlemen.
It's kind of, I suppose, you know, I've been doing art for the last, I don't know, since I was a child, and the last few years I've been trying to sort of explore the idea of I suppose, you know, where we lie in terms of you know, our relationship with the world. And I kind of thought about you know, Japanese monster movies. And I kind of thought about, you know, the things that we kind of worry about on a day-to-day basis, about global warming and about acidification of the oceans and all the things that we read about, but try to have fun with that idea, really. And I've been doing the same with music. This is actually the first painting I've done for about 3 years. This painting is part of a triptych which I'm working on at the moment. The painting's called Hell on Earth, because I was trying to sort of think about maybe taking the whole idea of artists like Bosch or Bruegel into the modern age, and you know, what might they do if they were alive? Well,
Bosch and Bruegel really absolutely there in the painting, so I can see it's quite reminiscent of the YouTube clip that came out the day after the tornado that hit Moore in Indiana, with just stuff flying everywhere, stuff filling the sky, people being crushed, cars being flown around. it's really, really, there's something going on that's a bit like that for me too. I think there's a bit of Rubens, there's a classical feeling about the brushstrokes that you're using. It's clearly, assuming that you actually did it, I think that there's a great deal of, that there is good painting going on there. I thought it was superb work.
It's just a photocopy.
There's almost nothing that we can criticise about this, but I'm going to hand over to Cara to have a go.
I loved the music, by the way, and it took me back to manky tents at festivals at very late in the morning or early in the morning, which it is. I spent formative years in those sorts of places, so that was lovely. You've obviously got a message here about concerns of our future. Do you want this work to be instrumental? Do you want people to see this and to hear it together and then go out and do something?
It's just a kind of, you know, I see myself as quite a cheery person, but I feel that when I do painting, that all these things just come out of me. And to be honest with you, whenever I start drawing or doing a sketch, once you've been doing it a while, you know, you kind of go into this almost meditative state where the drawing is doing the drawing, and you're not doing the drawing. And then whatever comes out is great. And then usually, you know, when it comes to actually thinking about or talking about what you've done, that's usually retrospective for me. You know, so sometimes there'll be something in the back of my mind before I start painting, and then that will kind of become the sketch. I've kind of almost trained myself to not think too hard and just let things come out.
Hello, Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
I have. I really like your painting, but until it got waved in my face, I thought that the tidal wave was a dead dog, and I also thought that the ball of fiery light was a penis. So it was quite useful to see it up close.
Well, if you like dead dogs and penises,
I like both dead dogs and penises, and so once it was thrust in me, it was maybe a tiny bit disappointing. No, it wasn't at all. I really like the craft of your painting, but I'm worried about when you talk about it, if all of that happened to a place, that wouldn't anywhere near equal Armageddon for the world. So almost when you talked about it and put it in global terms, it almost put me off it a bit. Right. Because it's just some place having a terrible time. It's not the world having, maybe with your triptych, you have 3 places having a terrible time. So, but that's a really crafty painting, like I think, although I don't know how to paint, but it looks really beautifully done. So maybe if you shut the fuck up about it, then I'd think it was really good. But I appreciate, not in this context, because that's what you were put on stage to do. So I don't mean like, I'm not being mean, but like, give it a more enigmatic title. Call it something like testicular cancer. And then everyone will think you're really deep. But I really liked it. I liked your music too, but I'm a make music, so I feel threatened.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next artist, stroke performer, has something of a legendary figure on the Brighton scene, which marks him out for trouble. He's given me this statement. The piece is called Nature Reserve, and the statement is as follows. The first pornography I ever saw was a magazine depicting a woman performing a sex act on a horse. I was 12 years old. That wasn't the Radio Times, no. I have never seen the point of bestiality. Like paedophilia and marriage, it has always seemed incredibly unnatural and unnecessary to me. The technology now exists to genetically splice 2 species together, creating a hybrid creature. For the deviant, this presents some intriguing sexual possibilities. As soon as any new technology is created and unleashed upon the masses, the immediate human impulse appears to be, how can I use it to get my rocks off? So, ladies and gentlemen, expounding on this theme, Mr. Tim Leopard, thank you.
So, well, my piece, Nature Reserve, is a photo montage that it took me about 4 months to do. It comes in 2 sections, and I think the best way for you to experience it is for me to pass both pieces round and for you to look at them. They're photo montages, but they're not done with the aid of Photoshop or any kind of digital technology. They've done basically by me going to the studio every day for about 3 to 4 months and moving pieces of paper around until I found the images that closely matched the thing that I saw in my head. Now, whether that's good or bad, I'll leave up to you, but I'll pass them around. Basically, because they're not done digitally, I think it'd be nice for you to see the divots and creases and pass them around and see. Literally, the devil is in the detail, because I don't want you to miss the lizard woman filleting the guy. These pieces were done purposely for my own enjoyment. They're not designed for commercial. The feedback I get on these is, "Ooh, I wouldn't want it on my wall." Well, you don't have to, but you have a look at it. Anyway. Yeah, feel free to touch them. I don't care what happens. I mean, they're only done for me. The thinking behind them is this. We live in an age that is marginally, but it's pretty much completely consumed by pornography, to the extent that pornography is mainstream now, and in fact it's compulsory for the under 20s. So, you can't really saturate children with pornography and then scratch your heads and wonder why they go bananas, because they're going to. And there is a correlation between food pornography, of course, where basically most of that work is a splicing of pornography and food pornography. And I noticed quite early on when I was saturating myself with both that they're absolutely identical. We're all meat, and it's meat. Meat's meat. And it's a meeting of meat and meat. When we were kids, sort of our age group, I'm 42. When I was a child, if I wanted some pornography, I had to go and look for it in parks. I had to go and look for it and painstakingly piece it together, and I'd go on a field trip and I'd find an old razzle and find it all ripped up, and if I glued it together painstakingly over a couple of weeks, I might get a wank out of it. Nowadays, a kid can just go boom and get a 3-year-old being raped by a mule. I think that's wrong, but who am I to say?
I quite like the sexy cat lady in Nature Reserve number 2. So if I could order one of those, that would be lovely.
I've got bunches.
But I was expecting to see more pornography. There's only one cock in number 2.
What about the 8th woman sucking off the guy?
Where's that?
It's in the other one. Have a look at that. Come on, wait for the other one to come around. There's a lizard woman sucking a guy off. There's an orangutan woman filleting somebody, and there's a 3-way gangbang with a crab's head.
Yeah.
Have a look at that.
I was expecting a bit more filth. I like filth.
I've got plenty more where that comes from, dear.
Okay, all right. Okay, no more questions.
I'm quite impressed by this lady over here on the right. She actually has what looks like a lollygobble chalk bomb. Halfway up.
She's actually, do you know, an interesting thing about that lady is she's ripped from a jazz mag, but she's got the lips of Tim Henman vomiting a peppered steak. I've cut out Henman's lips doing a sort of, Henman pout. I thought perfect for vomiting a peppered steak. But yeah, that's what she is.
I think you have a promising offer for the Rosslyn Institute in Edinburgh, where a lot of animal hybrid breeding is going on, and gene editing. I think what you're doing here is gene editing. I really like the idea of meta-hybrid, so I was just fantasizing then on my own and getting a little bit of a semi, thinking about Pam Ayres and Pam Anderson combined. Now that's the kind of weirdness that really gets me hard. So come back at the Arts Council with a Grants for the Arts application to build a real-life, full-size Pam Ayres and Pam Anderson hybrid, and we would go for that.
Are you possibly a victim of the very thing that you are critiquing, in that the internet makes it so accessible, as you described, that this becomes far less edgy than it ought to be through your technique?
That's an interesting question, Chris, because I don't have a television, I don't have the internet, I've never looked at pornography on the internet, and all my stuff is done with hand.
Yeah. I really liked it, but I wish, again, maybe it's the format, but you've talked about pornography, and then in a way you've presented two images that seem to me to be about nature, and they're really good. But because you introduced them as things about pornography, I was expecting some pornography. So they're really nice, and I really like that you've hand done them, and they are really beautiful. And I don't think you should present them to us as something extreme or nasty. They're really aesthetically pleasing in and of themselves. And they're really good pieces. But don't try and be a filth merchant. Just do some more of these, and don't think you're horrible because you're really nice.
Thank you.
There we go. Now we were talking about meat and humans, and this next piece, Stitch, is indeed some strong meat, ladies and gentlemen. I warn you, if you are of a sensitive nature, you may wish to be a little bit sick in your mouth. But it is presented by Dark Theatre, Inessa and Barrington de la Roche, and the piece is called Sick. I'm not going to say anything else. I think we'll just play the piece. Relax, lie back, enjoy, and Inessa will talk about it afterwards. Thank you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is to replace the Potter's Wheel as the new BBC interlude. It's very interesting. We at the Ministry prefer the cross stitch, but it's very interesting. Pleased to speak about it, Inessa, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, I'm ready to be dissected. So, I can tell you a little bit about the piece, very briefly. It was a live performance. My husband and I, we had a solo show at the dentist. There was this in London. We live in London. We're based in London, and we work in London. We married for 10 years, and we call ourselves Dark Theatre. And there was this dentist who all the rich Chelsea footballers going to do their teeth, and he had this beautiful space, and we thought, why not to use it and do their art show? So there was this first floor where we filmed someone's teeth being scraped, and we installed lots of videos, and we made plaster pieces of mouth. And there was lots of projections, and there was a basement, so we used the basement as well to show our work. But we never told the dentist that it's gonna be something appearing on opening night, that is going to be a live performance, because you would disagree completely. That would be outrageous. Of course, you would not allow us to do so. So anyway, we did this beautiful kind of aesthetic installation, and on the night, the whole cameras was linked to the monitors and screens. We was about 6 altogether, basement and on a top floor, where other videos was projecting. And we have this performance artist, a friend of us, whose mouth being sewn up. We took him into the room, we took him into the dentist chair. And so we locked ourselves into the room, and of course we started doing a live performance, and the cameras from the monitors was switched into the live performance. So of course the dentist was shocked, and he was banging on a door trying to get in, and all the people were absolutely shocked, saying suddenly from beautiful things switches into this.
Why did you put that soundtrack onto that image?
Well, The concept is about pleasure and pain, which we consider as two inseparable emotions, and they contradict each other as much as they fulfill each other. When the pain starts to stimulate your brain, it could turn into pleasure. So that's why we did the soundtrack of
Okay.
girl having
I
orgasm.
really, really loved the video. I thought that was a really interesting thing for a performance artist to do to themselves, and for me, I thought that it was a piece about. It felt quite a political piece, and it felt to me as though it was going to be that your intention was going to be something about people being silenced, but with the soundtrack, in a way, you then impose something else on us that I almost, if I'm honest, I thought was less valuable.
I found the soundtrack with the images quite odd as well, because I thought the soundtrack just sounded like those really sort of plasticky internet porny things, and I was just like, please give the girl a break. Or I didn't feel her narrative, her story arc was really going anywhere. But I loved the film, and I'm somebody that has modified my body, and I now kind of get why when I say to my friends, will you come down and take photos of me being pierced, that they go a bit weird, because even for me that's sort of used to needles going into skin, that was to begin with really uncomfortable and really shocking, and then I just thought it was an absolutely beautiful piece of film.
I was watching it and I was deconstructing the layers of what I thought was true and what I thought might not be true. But at the same time, I found myself thinking about the craft of what was happening, almost in a way that I was looking at a painting. So yes, I was thinking about all of those things. I was drawn into it in a very enveloping way, in a way which I think, to me, made me think this is actually really serious work, and it was work which doesn't compromise, and work which felt like it's not part of any kind of artifice. There's no kind of layer of dramatic falsity. There was no falsehood to it. By the end of it, taking on the political side of it, I found myself thinking, I wish that was Michael Gove.
So we have two artists in the second half, but timekeeping has grown slack, ladies and gentlemen. I shall have to show the iron hand under my skin glove in the second half and be tight. But there's two artists. The first, ladies and gentlemen, is Ram Samocha. I hope I've said that correctly, Ram. Ram's piece is called Lead Flag. It's 2013. 3D metal point drawing. Lead on rock paper. These are unfamiliar terms and will be thoroughly investigated. Ram is an Israeli-born artist, presently resides in Brighton, UK. His work draws from the locale and the location of its creation. Ladies and gentlemen, Ram Samocha. Thank you very much.
First of all, I would like to say thank you for everybody that came here and observing what we are doing. So this is the front of the piece, but it will go here. You can see that there's and when we think about Degenerated, the first thing that we can come in mind is the everything that is symbolize, everything that is related to a Jew was degenerated in this mythic exhibition. So I went over in my mind and searched for things that I did lately, degenerated or not degenerated, and I came to this piece, which I have to say I have traveled with this piece originally, because I'm usually I'm not that go and shout things, and if I'm doing a piece, it usually will be more towards the abstract, and like the title will suggest something that I had in mind related to my daily life or my conflicts or other issues that I'm going through. But in this piece, I was just, it came out of frustration, actually. Because I'm more than 7 years now out of Israel, and I traveled to Canada, and actually I experienced the ultimative position in being in a very peaceful country and supported. And I'm here now, and through all this time travel, nothing changed in my country. And like I'm working now for 3 years with a specific technique that I developed. It's a metal point, which I'm using metal to draw with on a special paper that made out of rock.
But I think it's a fascinating piece, and I think that the way that you're presenting, the way that you've actually discovered or constructed, the way that you've constructed the piece is particularly interesting. But I can't get away from my feelings about that symbol one way or the other, and I think it's particularly interesting as a piece.
You said that you've posted it on your Facebook page, and you said that you've travelled with it, and I suppose in a way leading on from what you've said, I'm just wondering what other people's reactions to it have been, and have they been shocked by it as a defilement of a flag, or has it transcended that in some way? Or
I came here and I said, well, okay, I'm gonna show you an Israeli flag, and you're British, and what do you care, or you care too much, or you dislike or like, and and I choose it because when I came, actually, first when I came here, I knew that Israel is a controversial issue, and it was controversial when the Degenerate art show was in 37 or so, and it still is, and it's restless, there's no peace, and yeah, that's the situation right now. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's terrifying and really beautiful, and I find the Israeli flag very scary, so therefore I found it the most sort of edgy and scary.
Sorry, why do you find it very scary?
It's because of what I have associated it with in my life. So therefore, for me, the Israeli flag is a symbol that has lots of negative connotations. I'm in no way objective about Israel and the occupations. So therefore, I'm completely on one side. I have no objectivity. So then to see it, I can't separate myself from that lack of objectivity. And that's amazing. It's a brilliant experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
This piece appeals to me immediately because it's called Democracy, which of course chimes perfectly with me. This is presented by a school of art, I believe, or a group, a collective called Meme Pool, represented tonight by Sheriff of Nothing. The Sheriff of Nothing is, it says here, a London wage slave plotting the great escape into the French countryside to a quieter, more authentic existence. He rides a 55 MV Augusta around the big smoke with a head full of film noir and a saddlebag full of dreams. Well, we run France as well, so you can't run too far. Please welcome Democracy and the Sheriff of Nothing. Thank you.
Is that really the best we can ever get? Except what they call the best we've got. Never try to better it except of course through the gradualism of lying manifestos. It's no wonder that my cynicism grows until I long for the day when nobody shows up for this sham anymore. Choose Tory, choose Labour, choose Liberal, choose your own fucking jailer. Democracy, you're having a laugh, innit? They're only in it to win it. So tick a box or phone a friend, vote by mail and indulge in the smug pretense that somehow it just might arrive. Democracy! I wouldn't wipe your ass with it.
And now, to defend his controversial point of view, will you please welcome the Sheriff of Nothing, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Subtlety, as you can see, is my forte. Well, good evening, my fellow degenerates. I'm honoured to be invited to talk among such estimable company and to be inducted into the ranks of the broken and the dangerous. I have to confess, I was a little surprised when my friend and co-conspirator Shardcore asked if I would be interested in talking about something we made almost a decade ago with a third associate. And we rebooted with that video that you see here, which was made in 2010, ahead of the genital erection. We did make a companion piece just before this one concerning the Iraq War, a piece we call We Are All Terrorists Now, which today seems particularly apposite. And we coined the degenerate term rant hop to describe them both. What surprises me, if anything, is that they seem to both have continuing relevance beyond what I thought they would have. They were just really intended as temporal and rather throwaway broadsides on subjects that really obviously pissed me off, to put it mildly. Of course, this was all in 2003, all before the Iraq War, the great banking rip-off, pre-parliamentary exit scandals, pre-Leveson, pre-condemnation, pre-austerity, pre-everything. What makes me sick to the deepest pit of my stomach is when I really see some talking head, some unspeakable person on TV asserting how our boys and girls are dying for democracy in Iraq, Afghanistan, or whatever imperialist adventure you want to substitute. The awful truth that they have died for absolutely nothing, with a capital A and an N, can never be uttered. At 18 years of age, the youngest soldier yet to die in Afghanistan in 2009 had never voted in his short life. He couldn't even participate in the very thing for which he ostensibly died. Therein lies the bitterness behind the line lifted from E. Cummings' hilarious anti-war poem, I sing of Olaf glad and big, I will not kiss your fucking flag. Although I think we're clear that that's not axiomatic with them, or indeed us. Thank you for letting me bore you.
Yeah, I disagree with what you said, every word. The piece of work was fun, but this is the wrong place to hear a fun pop video.
Bullshit.
But okay, so it was a.
Fuck off.
No, don't fuck off. No, come on. No, I'm all for freedom of speech. I want honesty.
Okay, it's not about being told to fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm struggling because I've had a couple of glasses of wine and I don't feel necessarily that I can articulate partly how wrong-headed that argument is, but also it's so tempting because I disagree with the argument to lay into the piece of pop music. But you basically said over and over again out of the mouths of politicians how shit democracy is without saying anything about anything. You didn't give us emotionally moving examples of what's happened in war, and in your talk you've conflated an evil war brought to us by the authorities to be with democracy as a sort of process being the villain. The problem with saying I don't like democracy is you need to produce another system that you prefer that we can live in. No, you don't need to, but in order to be taken seriously and put yourself on a stage, you do.
Perfectly entitled to criticise anything I like. I don't have to.
No, I'm not. Hold on. I'm not saying you can't stand there and say it. I'm arguing with what you've just said.
You know, the interesting thing is no one's interested in tweaking what we've got. We're all told how great it is, but no one's even interested. The House of Lords does this. We've still got bloody. We've still got peers. Of course they do. Every day they do. You don't like the peers. They're undemocratic. That's right.
I'm sorry, but this is about the art. If we get into politics, we get into very murky waters.
Politics are hard politics. Full safe.
No, they're not.
I have seen lots of things like that as an internet meme, and I wanted it to say something more than just democracy is shit. I did find that when you did start to talk, regardless of whether I agreed with it or not, that then actually became a bit more alive for me, and I felt that you coming up to talk was more the art piece than the film that I actually saw, really.
I agree with Cara, actually. I think I found at one point when you started talking about the piece, I actually felt that was the moment when it started to become interesting. It feels like you brought something back, you revived a piece of work, and yet actually it needed explaining, it needed you to talk about it for it actually to take to the wing.
That's what's so offensive to great many people. Yeah, I'm surprised that it is. It surprises me profoundly that people are not prepared to accept the system of government as we enjoy it today is actually pretty fucking shit.
If you act upon this, I think you're a hero. If you just comment and criticise, you're a misanthrope.
Maybe I'm just a misanthrope.
And on that bombshell. Well, ladies and gentlemen, bad art or good, the Sheriff of Nothing certainly stirred up passions. And that's exactly the sort of thing that we want to see stamped out. So, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, in this wonderful post-democratic world we live in, for you to vote and give the appearance of your democratic results to the judges, who will then, of course, rig it. So, we're going to announce the winner first, ladies and gentlemen, which is Jonathan Ridley with Hello!
Out to the earthlings!
And here is some compensation for the cut-off to your benefits. There's a hefty cash prize there. Now, the next five, I'm afraid, I should say, have all been banned. And it's an equal decision. They've all been banned, and they have to come and collect a certificate promising not to commit any work in public for how long is it? A period of
6 months.
6 months. There we go. So come and get your certificates.
Oh, we banned all of them.
It's not a democracy. It's a summary decision, and I've made it. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been very stimulated, and I look forward to making my reports to the Ministry. I would like to point out that as you've attended, you are all included in that ban. Go about your business and expect a knock on the door soon. Thank you very much. Good night.